Hello, welcome to my final project slash let's play slash one-off video slash analysis of Silent Hill 2. This is something I'm really excited to do. It's something that I never imagined that I would be doing for a school project. But, to explain in short of what we're going to be doing here, we're going to be looking at the many horror elements that make this game not only make you think, but also like how the developers are thinking about how you're thinking and what they can do to make you think of more things to make you scared. We're also going to be looking at ways that it makes you feel watched and drawing comparisons to some of Foucault's work, specifically about his depiction and description of the Panopticon and how the town of Silent Hill is basically the Panopticon itself. So those are the things that we're going to be covering, while also trying to get some live, sincere reactions. Now, I did have a failed recording about this, where the audio for my voice didn't work, and that's kind of the whole point, is listening to me talk about it for the final assignment. So that was really unfortunate. But we're going to get into that now. We're going to get into the spookiness and explaining why it's so spooky. Alright. So let's see. Just testing one more time. Okay, so let's begin this then. Now, already we have a bit of... This game is very interesting, but we're going to start off by just looking at the opening. Let's go. We're going to do all standard. We're going to be playing from the opening to around the first combat sequence. So I hope... so that's will be about an hour. A little less than an hour. So let's do this. Now I'm going to let this speak for itself. I'm going to let the game speak for itself for a little bit here. So, I'll just let the opening play. That way, I can let it fully capture what's going on here.
Could you really be in this town?
restless dreams, I see that town. Silent Hill. You promised you'd take me there again someday. But you never did. Well, I'm alone there now. In our special place. Waiting for you.
I got a letter. The name on the envelope said Mary. My wife's name. It's ridiculous. Couldn't possibly be true. That's what I keep telling myself. Mary died of that damn disease 3 years ago. So then why am I looking for her? Our special place. What could she mean? This whole town was our special place. Could Mary really be here? Is she really alive? Waiting for me?
So immediately, we have a game that begins asking questions. Specifically, questions about... hold on, I'm going to turn off my game capture for just a second. Make sure I am on Do Not Disturb, so I do not see my notifications. But we immediately have an interesting... many questions being raised about what's going on here. We have, first of all, I'd like to mention the environmental storytelling here. One thing that's always felt interesting about this game to me is the familiarity of its locations. And it feels that way even if you haven't even really been to a place like this. At the same time, it feels so normal yet abnormal. Immediately, like, this is the most safe the game gets, full disclosure. And yet, like, you hear like these rickety noises. And yet, I'm sure some of us have seen, like, look, this is supposed to be a lookout. Like, it's supposed to be, you know, sort of a... And by all means, it kind of is a beautiful view, but it's kind of veiled by something that's very important and that will become very prominent in our discussion here, is the fog. A fog that is extremely thick and hiding many things that we will get into later. But moving along is... the question is the questions that the game is already making you think in your head. And heck, the character says it outright. How do you receive a letter from a loved one who is dead? And heck, we even see the letter right here. You can see it's written down. We can even read it again. In my restless leaves, I see that town, Silent Hill. We see this letter. And heck, we even get a picture. A lovely little picture of James' frankly, adorable wife. It's upsetting to see that she got taken away. Or has she? Has she been taken away? Is she really gone? If she is capable of writing a letter, is she really dead? Or is this all some trap? Is all of this a trap? I mean, I would love to go down to Pizza Bolorama and find out. Or Toluca Lake. Again, like, there's that sense of familiarity. And as long as the abnormality of the whole thing, like, this place is obviously rusted and dilapidated. It's kind of gross to look at, but yet you can imagine, if you look at it for long enough, sort of what it was supposed to be, what it's trying to be. It's that environmental storytelling that gets you thinking, like, it absorbs you in as you're taking in these strange ideas that the game is immediately putting down. Again, like, how's your wife alive? It makes you think already about an absurd premise. And here we have down here a very important part of the game. The walk. The walk to Silent Hill is a masterful classic horror because it immediately establishes a few things. Audio and the fog. How the fog hides the things that are making noises and make you jump. We can kind of see in front of us. We can see silhouettes and trees, but we can't really see the path ahead, and we get really strange noises, like that weird squishing noise. It could be the mud I was stepping in, or was it? It sounded like it came from my left. The game now already having you thinking about what could possibly be going on here, now while you're thinking about that, has you thinking, what the hell is out there? Now suddenly, while you're thinking about this, especially with your knowledge that this is a horror game, you're expecting to be scared. But the game is playing it very coy right now. The noises are subtle. Very subtle. Just making sure everything... I don't want to repeat of the audio mess, but I want you to think about the audio. Again, I want you to listen. I'm going to turn up the game a little bit more so you can hear it some more. I'm going to do a bit of a cut. Alright, we're back. Just making sure that I checked the audio, the recording that we already had, and we're not having any audio issues, so we're going to keep going. Alright. But, yes, the fog is very important. I want you to keep in mind something, that the feeling of, like, being watched. Again, this is a very dense forest, and the fog doesn't help. Like, it doesn't really... Aha! We got another bit of audio. The game has already raised you to the idea of tension through audio and visual disclarity. But I mean, that was just falling rocks. But yet, I'm still jumping at every noise. What the what was that? That wasn't me, like, I got by that. But that sloshing noise, is that just mud? It makes you think, and you can't see anything, and yet there's something maybe out there. There maybe couldn't be, but there might. The chances aren't zero. The developers know what they're doing. They know that what you're going to be trying. They know at the very least what you're going into and what you're expecting. It's a horror game. So they know that you're going to be expected to be scared. So these sort of subtle, sort of audio diegetic noises that immerse you in, that will have your ears peeling for noise. It's a fascinating thing. We're going to take a bit of a break to also take a note of this. This is something I feel like the game does surprisingly well. Is you don't even feel safe in the save screen. Like, this is not comforting, safe music. Even though, biometrics, you are. It's uncomfortable. It kind of tickles the brain. And as James is going to comment here...
It's like someone's groping around my skull.
Yeah, it's very strange. Very strange way to do a save system. Now the fog is getting any thicker, which means, and this is something, the fog makes you rely on the hearing. It makes you feel very, very not in control. And again, with the noises we've been hearing, there could be something out there watching us. Again, I want you to keep in mind Foucault's concept of the panopticon, where it's if you don't know, the panopticon, that as described by Foucault, is a tower in the center of a prison that is constructed in such a way that it can always, at the top of the tower, you can see every single cell. But it's not only does this rob the agency of the prisoners of their privacy, but also the prisoners can't quite see you. They can't tell that somebody's watching at the tower. Now, tell me that this isn't a very similar situation, and I want you to think about that as we go through, and especially as we get to another point that makes this game very interesting, is this next interaction and what it does to the player and what it does, its tools by the developers that make you think even more. Now again, I'm going to turn off my webcam for this.
Excuse me.
I'm sorry. I was just...
Hey, it's okay. I didn't mean to scare you. I'm kind of lost.
Lost?
Yeah, I'm looking for Silent Hill. Is this the right way?
Yeah. It's hard to see with this fog, but there's only the one road. You can't miss it.
Thanks.
But... I think you should stay away. This town, there's something wrong with it. And it's not just the fog, either.
Is it dangerous?
Maybe. It's kind of hard to explain, but...
I'll be careful.
I'm not lying.
No, I believe you. It's just... I guess I don't really care if it's dangerous or not. I'm going either way.
But why?
I'm looking for... someone. Someone very important to me.
Me too. I'm looking for my mama. I mean, my mother. It's been so long since I've seen her. I thought my father and brother were here, but I can't find them either. I'm sorry, it's not your problem.
No, I hope you find them.
Yeah, you too.
Fascinating, isn't it? It's a fascinating thing. Webcam on. Boop. Hello. So, we have, again... Now, I like to note that the game immediately draws attention to the fog. Again, it brings attention to it, and now the player is more readily aware of its sort of effect on the player and like the in-game characters. It's very thick, it's very hard to see, but it also doesn't mean, and it hides things very well. Like, I cannot see in front of me. It's very thick. I'd also like to note that the characters discussing have very weird interactions, and this adds this sort of feeling of entrapment, right? The reason why I say that is because it seems that this Angela is in a very similar situation that we seem to be in. Sure, we don't know of extenuating circumstances like them being dead, but James didn't bring back the fact that his wife was dead either. They're very, and the way they spoke to each other was very gaunt, very absent, to say the least. It adds a sense of, it almost feels like a dream. And that's a great way to describe how Silent Hill feels. It feels like a dream that you're not in control of. It feels... So, if Angela and James here are here on similar circumstances, that brings the question of how and why they're here. Why are they brought together like this? That rustling... Is it the wind? Probably. Or is it? You can never be so sure. But there's also something to be said about how the game handles noise. There's something to be said about how the game handles noise. Now, I say noise and not audio because noise is supposed to be a bit distracting by nature. There's a certain degree of distraction that comes with noise, and horror games like to do this to deprive you of information and make you more scared than you should be. By all means, I could and probably am safe from monsters right now. Haven't we passed... I feel like we've all passed a building like this before. Dilapidated old farmhouse, rotten wood, old trucks. I swear, I've been to a place like this. Have you ever been to an old house? Like, not recently, but my grandpa, where he used to live when he was a kid, I visited his house, and it was small and dilapidated, and like floors were gone, the roof was broken, glass was... It was so surreal. Seeing a place. In fact, that kind of captures the whole vibe of the town, where you could see the normality here, and yet it's all gone. And it adds that sort of atmosphere of that atmosphere. What was that noise? It sounded like a door opening. But yes, it's that sort of here. You don't know when the game's gonna try to scare you, especially the first time playing it through. And listen, you hear that? That sort of droning, metallic noise? It's subtle enough to not pull you out of the world. It's not like a Doom game where it's like... It's subtle. It doesn't pull you out. It doesn't... If anything, you could sum it up to maybe some strange metallic pipes, or... Again, it immerses you further, and it covers up even more of your senses, making you even more on edge, making you more jumpy, more scared, and more tense. It's quite intense. And here we have more Pete's Bowl-rama! Hell yeah, baby! But in all seriousness, we have a door that's locked. We have our first building tenant, and which was this the door that was making strange noises earlier? Was something walking through it? You never know. Went to town to get us the window fixed. Spare keys in a drawer. Just let the audio sink in. Weird, horrible.
Hello? Anyone in here?
Ah, the classic hello, is anyone here? Well, it is a horror trope. It's also a sort of recognition that you are alone seemingly. At least nothing is responding to you. That gaseous noise keeps... We have ourselves a key. Maybe that was the door that was making noises. But here comes something I feel like the game masterfully does right here. I'm gonna run towards it real quick. Now, in case you don't know, in the original Silent Hill 2, this is actually where you'd have your first monster encounter. This is where you get your first weapon. This is where the idea of monsters gets introduced to you. I'd like to say that because one thing that developers knew is that people who had played the original game before we're probably going into this thinking, well, it's probably gonna be the same scares with the same it's just gonna have better graphics and new controls. But this is the game's hint at saying, oh no, you're not. You are not safe. We're doing things differently, and we're expecting to scare everyone. Imagine being someone who's played the original Silent Hill, big fanboy, expecting to get scared here, just stone face, and then going, where is it? Where's the monster? I got chilled just thinking about it. But it's a masterful work of... Now, again, the developers thought about this, of how veterans were going to think. And that's a great sign of foresight. For all we know, the game is now completely on its own merits now. It's going to do its scares on its own merits. It's not even relying on the original anymore. So, at what point is it going to scare you? For all we know, the monster could be... Our first monster could be around any corner. As we enter here, through this next stretch, listen. Where's that bell coming from? Is that a bell? Is it just clanging metal? What is causing that? And the thing is, it's diegetic. It sounds behind you at all times. Even sounds a little bit to my right. Wait. But it's making you listen. It's not only, again, you can barely see. You can barely hear now. Like, I can hear the pissing sound of liquid with a, frankly, very gross irrigation system. Sorry. Frankly, it sounds like it's to my right. Again, the audio is just letting you think of what could possibly be out there. And again, you can't really see that well. It's a very fascinating. I want you to think about more about the concept that Foucault gave us, that we discussed earlier, about the panopticon. We see that feeling of being watched. We get that feeling that there's something out there. Yet we can't see it. And yet, there is no real place that we're seemingly safe. We're just wandering out. There's nowhere really that we're headed. No matter what, we are blinded by the fog. Anything could be out there, anything could be watching. And the game knows this. And it will do various things to fuck with you. Now we just got the simple moment of grabbing a map. Of course, get video game stuff, but I feel like it's important for a game to give you some form of navigation when a game tries so hard to be so dreamlike and hard to follow. So having a map is very helpful. Now I'm gonna check to see if I audio bugged. Alright, we're back with no audio issues. Woo! I'm seriously so upset. I can't emphasize this enough. I lost a whole session of recording due to that. But let us continue. But what we're gonna have here is another sort of moment I'd like to note. Right here. So we've noted that how dilapidated this is, and how rotten and like even hell. This is emphasized here. All the rotten but not quite dead plants. Like look, this one's still green, and yet we have a perfectly clean piece of paper. That Miss Cassandra. Miss Cassandra, a customer came in today, ordered a mixed bouquet, red and white. I tried to explain it's bad luck, but you couldn't just decide on just one. He seemed a bit off, looked at me like I wasn't even there, and then he just left. He said he'd be back to pick him up later. I just wanted to let you know since I might be gone by then. I'd like to note that this is a very normal note to get, and it's a relatively clean piece of paper. I mean, it looks like it was written recently. And yet, look at the place. It's disgusting. It's very unkept. I mean, oh, it's a big bug.
What is this?
Now, admittedly, this is kind of something that, but, like, obviously, but the game does muddy it a lot. It's not quite, I feel like we all know what this is trying to be, but it's also mixed with a lot of brown. And the red is very dull. So, I'd like to note that it's not exactly the most unbelievable conclusion for someone to come to, in terms of it not immediately being blood. It could just be dirt and someone had an accident. Now, as we entered the more industrial parts, again, I want you to think about the Foucault comparison. We are now in the town. And by the way, there is no point of return. We cannot go back. Ever. We are trapped. And if that doesn't get emphasized enough, like, again, we're in a... What is this? A very strange and out-of-place structure. Like, sure, by video game standards, it's like, oh, we don't want you to go here. We don't want you... But also, in terms of what it means for the player, it's very weirdly claustrophobic. It makes you feel trapped. And again, like, if this had been like, oh, it's just road construction, and yet, it doesn't seem that way. Road construction would have more, like, actual signs, like those, like, orange and yellow, but it's just a white, like, plastic wall? Like, if we look close at it, like, it's very moldy. Again, I don't have the best graphics card in the world, so you're gonna have to forgive me, but it's that feeling of being trapped. You are now trapped in this town. Then there is no way that you're getting out anymore. And yet, as we've established, the game has done a very literal way of making you feel watched in the fog. It's pointed out to you several times. Look at this. Like, look at all these disgusting, dilapidated houses. It's very unnerving. Ah, solid auto truck repair. Man, there are a lot of auto places around here. Oh, look, the Texan Cafe. I like myself a good.
More of that stuff.
Now, it's more obviously blood here. I actually kind of like that. That's something I never noticed. How it becomes more obviously bad. Because it definitely looked a lot more brown before. What a cute little view of future. But what happens when I leave? There was blood there. Is there something behind me? No, there isn't. But you can't be ever too sure. Again, and if you didn't see it before, I feel like this is the big telltale sign that something's a bit fucky. And we have that audio.
Hey, wait.
Now, I feel like we all know what this is, but the sudden tension build that the game now has, now that it's shown us that there is something out there, but a mere glimpse. Now, the audio, did you hear that? The audio is now turning it up. Turning up that sort of subtle build. And now we're hearing... Seems to have broken the irrigation system. Now we're in a very more condensed area in the form of the backyard.
Hello?
So, we have very obviously a monster, and it's playing very coy with it. It's not being, like, it's not like a Resident Evil game where it's showing you in visceral detail, like, ah! It's keeping it still very reserved in terms of it, so that way there's a payoff later. I'd like to note that whenever I first played this, that prompt terrified me. The fact that I have... James agrees. But now, we are in a very condensed space. That would not have been good. A save point. But why would the game want to put a save point here? Suddenly, for anyone who's played video games, you know that a save point usually means something's about to happen. And so as we're not doing an actual playthrough, we're not going to save, but what does that mean? We can do some robbing. We even find a drink. Health. Very simple. Again, audio.
Stay back.
We have our first combat encounter. And I'd like to take note that the game does a lot to make sure that you do not feel powerful. Because you are but merely fighting with a wooden plank. You're not fighting with some gun yet, or heck, even a competent melee weapon. You're fighting with a stick.
Is this what I saw in the fog?
And there will be much
Whatever it
more.
is, it's not human.
There will be much more you'll see in the fog, James. So now we know that there are things out there. And admittedly, seeing it is a bit of a distressor, but yet it's far from the last we'll see of it. So what have we learned so far? We've learned that the town itself is very much representative of sort of Foucault's. Oh my god, that's a very dirty needle, James. I don't know if you should use that. Of the entire, how the game up until this point has done a really good job of filling your own brain with boogie monsters, with sort of what's in their isms, who goes there isms. And it disrupts and as we heard, we've now been introduced to the radio, something that seemingly helps us detect monsters, which is really good. But not only is the noise very grating and very unnerving, fundamentally, because it's very disruptive. As we are listening for things ourselves, we are now contesting with a loud, graining radio static that's only going to get more intense. And as we're going to learn in the game, but we're not going to cover that, it's unreliable. There are monsters that are able to remain undetected to the radio. And sometimes the radio will go off with seemingly nothing. Again, there are going to be moments where you're trusting something that is unreliable. But even if it is going off, and you don't see anything. What is there? There's that feeling of being watched again. Now, sadly, we're not going to cover that, but go over here. We're reminded of why we're here again, and now, with the context of what we know, it makes what's happening here even more questionable. Is this a trap? Why was this trap set? What's going on here?
Where are you, Mary?
There it is. Now, first of all, after committing some casual vandalism, we're gonna wrap this up shortly, but I want you to, if you guys ever decide to play this game, I want you to think about what I've given to you today.
What is that?
And thus, we have our first hint of where to go. Neely's Bar. This is the beginning of the game's first puzzle. Reading this leave, this place is not what it seems. Sometimes you just have to look behind. But we have learned to not be interrupted anymore. Oh. It's in the fog again. But what have we learned? we have learned that the game is really good at planting ideas in your head and making you think, while also making you feel watched, and then you begin thinking about feeling watched. Again, there's that feeling of the panopticon where you are always feeling watched and yet you're not able to gain any insight yourself. Now, I'm gonna end this here. Thank you for listening to this presentation, and I hope that this has been Bryson Stroop. And I hope you one day check this game out and see how this game goes from here, which has already been really creepy up until this point. We're gonna see how it gets from here to here in this hell. Thank you all for watching, and I hope you have a nice day. Peace.